Hi, I'm Nora Bierlein, and I'm here with Jacob King, and we're both English faculty here at Rhodes, and we're here to talk to y'all about writing tutoring, which is unique from other types of tutoring in some kind of special ways that we want to talk about with you. We have this writing tutor tip sheet, which is right in front of you on your screen. There's also a sample student essay, which should look like this. And we ask that if you haven't already, please take a moment to pause or stop this video and read through both of these things. Get yourself familiar with them. And the first question we want to ask you, after reading this rough draft essay, where would you start as a writing tutor? You will see that there are many problems and areas of improvement represented, but where would you start? So take a moment, stop, pause, review the document, and then come back to us with your answer. As it says right here on your tutor tip sheet, the first place to start is with the assignment itself. So kind of a trick question, but yeah, start with the assignment itself. And that means simply asking the student, do you have an assignment sheet? If not, what's the name of your teacher for this class? Can I get into the Canvas class and pull up the assignment sheet and even look at the rubric if there's a rubric associated with the assignment? This kind of helps reinforce to the student what they should be shooting for, but it also gives you an idea of what the actual assignment guidelines are supposed to be. The other thing that you want to start off with every kind of tutoring session is, as it says here in the very last tip, begin the conversation with a positive comment about the writing. Sometimes, yes, that can be a difficult thing to do, and we understand that. But it's still important to try to make a sincere, positive comment about the writing. And when you make negative comments, as it says here, don't frame it like your writing, is terrible, or your writing sucks. Here the essay lacks a thesis statement, not you lack a thesis statement, okay? So try to make it as positive an experience as you possibly can. Also recognize that Rome wasn't built in a day, so you'll have to focus on one goal at a time. That may mean setting a time limit of some sort, like they'll work with you for 10 or 15 minutes and then help them set a goal. As it says here, I'll write 7 sentences independently by 10 o'clock or whatever it is, and then work with them to set up another appointment in the near future. Okay, we worked on this element, you're going to go home and work on this, and then you're going to come back and we're going to review it together. So just recognize that you cannot solve all the problems in a particular essay in one day.
And a good way to maybe tackle that portion of this is to actually look at the diagram that's on the tip sheet. You'll notice that we've divided feedback into higher order concerns and lower order concerns. So you might want to devote most of the time that you're actually engaged in a writing tutoring session with the higher order concerns. Some things like paragraph structure, organization of the essay, the development of the thesis, making sure that these are all clear and strong and in many cases argumentative, but whatever the case, that they meet the parameters of the assignment. What you don't want to do is spend all your time on the lower order concerns. While comma splices and run-on sentences and things of that nature are very important, and we do want to address those, your job is not to simply be a proofreader. It's to really help the student through the writing process and get to a clearly developed thesis statement and a well-organized essay.
So speaking of thesis statement, if I were tutoring this particular student right here, after reviewing the assignment sheet, the next thing I would look at would be that thesis statement. Because the thesis statement is the foundation for the entire essay. And unless they have a solid one in place, the rest of the essay isn't going to work out so well. So looking at this particular thesis statement right here, I always tell my students, most of my assignments, their thesis statements have to be persuasive in some way, but it needs to be persuasive and specific. I need to, by just pulling out this thesis statement all by itself, if I hadn't read any of the rest of their paper, I need to understand what their paper is about and what their position is on that particular topic. So when I look at this particular thesis statement, you might get hung up on the grammatical issues in it, which there are many. But the bigger issue here is, what specifically is this writer trying to say? As Jacob pointed out in a conversation we had before recording this, the student's obviously trying to kind of make a cool analogy, and that's a good positive comment you could say. You could say, oh, I can see how you're trying to compare paying athletes to parenting. But what's unclear is how that analogy really matches up. Okay, the student clearly has a creative mind, is trying to draw some connections between what she terms real life and paying student athletes, but what's not clear is how those connections are being made. So I try, for a thesis statement like this that's kind of all over the place, I tell my students to try and boil it down to its simplest terms. This student writer is obviously in favor of paying college athletes. So I tell them to start with the subject. College athletes should be paid because, and use that as kind of a template for working in some specific reasons for why they should be paid. Simple, yes, but it gets them started. Then they come up with those reasons, they can start organizing their paper around the reasons to support their claim, which Jacob's going to talk to you now about organization.
To talk about organization, I might actually jump you a little bit further into the essay, into, I believe it's the fourth paragraph on the second page, beginning with the words, split the difference. And that phrase itself, split the difference, is another great example of how the student has an interesting, a creative way of looking at words. That sounds like a good phrase, but as you read through this paragraph, I'm not understanding what the student actually means. Split the difference, why not offer the same scholarships to all college students in the NCAA, and then pay the students a salary, whether it is a standard salary or based upon the player's performance. Okay, now we could devote our time to going through this paragraph and finding spelling errors, grammatical errors, comma errors, but the bigger issue that we're going to find here is that our student is not being very clear with what she means. She's not really explaining herself. Throughout this paragraph, she incorrectly punctuates a couple rhetorical questions, which I might spend my time showing her how to punctuate those. But a better use of my time would be to move her towards answering those rhetorical questions rather than asking them in the first place. Again, trying to make her points more clear, more valid, and more well organized. That's our goal with this paper.
Of course, other issues in this paper that you might make note of would be the citation issues, both in text and throughout the essay, or on the works cited page. Obviously, we point students to the Purdue OWL website all the time for MLA resources. I also made a website, which I believe the Academic Success Center is aware of, but just so you know, it's mlatutorial.weebly.com, where I actually have a video. Many students struggle with how to format their paper. They can click on this video right here and see how to format it in MLA style. There are 4 different videos on the in-text citation page that illustrate 4 different ways to work in an in-text citation. And then I also have a works cited page that also includes another video that shows how to format that tricky hanging indent. And there's a plagiarism link as well. You don't have to use my website. It's just one suggested resource for you all for helping the students out.
And another tip as far as helping with citations, much like grammar, what you don't want to do is you don't want to go through and find every single citation error and point those out to the student. Rather, find an error that's happening 3 or 4 times, correct it once, show the student how you corrected that error, and then tell the student that it's now their job to correct that same error throughout the paper, whether that's a comma splice or an in-text citation, whatever type of error it is.
So just to conclude here, the goal here is to make the student, or to equip the student with the skills necessary to begin to revise and edit their own paper on their own. It's obviously we do not want you as the writing tutor to go through line by line and correct or edit their paper. As a matter of fact, we recommend that you leave the writing utensils in the hands of the student so that he or she is the one making the corrections. Obviously, you can make suggestions, but please let the student, write on their own paper as much as possible, just so they are the ones with ownership of their own writing. And of course, if you have any questions or special situations come up, please don't hesitate to contact the English department. Jacob or I will be happy to help any of you.